What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Flat Earth Vegan Goy, Arwin, Sleeping Warrior, and The Plain Truth. Good to have you all.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
What about me?
Hello. What?
Did I not say Sleeping Warrior as well?
No, I was forgotten about. I feel dejected.
Oh, my bad. I'm just forgetful like that. Sorry.
Sacked.
Slack.
P45 for Nathan.
Slack. Do you remember that? That's a proper 80s term. You're slack, you are.
I actually said sacked, but yeah, you're right. Slack.
Oh, it's my hearing. Just reminiscing about 80s Brummy terminology. Anyway, any signs of curvature, gentlemen?
Nope.
No.
Oh, actually, that's wrong. We do have a claim for curvature. Should we do it within housekeeping, or should we wait till the end?
Absolutely, that's what it's for.
Okay. All right. So I'll screen share, and this is going to be a massive laugh and attack at one of the biggest dorks on our flat plane possible. So. Here we have, are we on, Nath?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it.
So here we have a claim of curvature from no less than Miles the Liar Davis.
Yeah, you got him.
Say again?
Yeah, you caught him. Yeah, I saw that a few days ago.
Oh, I've only seen it this morning. So I'm gonna have to complain to my people that are like interested in my work or subs or whatever, because I didn't get told about this until this morning. So shout out to the gent that told me about it. You know who you are. For everybody else, come on, this is the kind of thing we want to see. Notice what he says here. This observation is impossible if the Earth is flat. Well, we know that the Earth is flat, so something else must be explained here, Miles. What are the alternatives? Perhaps you've got it wrong in your maths, or perhaps in some way you're just lying. But either or, it is possible on a flat plane, because we do live on a flat plane. So we know that something else must be wrong. Anyway, Miles was able to make this wonderful observation. And to be fair, it's artistically pretty attractive. It looks great. And what we're looking at here, for those that have not seen it, is there's 3 bridges that are all right behind each other in a level line, straight line, which is a problem in itself. But we have the 4th bridge, which has got 3 humps to it. One goes behind this peninsula of land. The other 2 are present in the picture. And that's the closest to us. In the intermediate ground, we have a bridge that's, I'm just trying to outline it with my mouse so that you can see it. It falls right behind this 1st bridge, which is known as the 4th bridge. And then we have this big, massive, grandiose one in the background. And these are 30 miles from the camera. And he's got an elevation, which we'll talk about in a sec. So what we'll do is we will look at the angle from behind, just so that you can get the perspective. There's the 4th bridge first. There's the middle bridge, and there's the further away bridge, and you can see the size differential. And what we can see straight away is he's clearly some distance away. However, Miles claims it's impossible for it to be like this if we live on a flat plane. Well, what I noticed immediately was that the line of the road part, or the train, whichever it is, it might be a train, this I don't know, but the line of all the roads or train tracks, they're all in a line. But the 30 miles away, there's an accumulated curve between all of the bridges, and it gets worse the further away they get. Now, if you look at the bridges and you see that there is a claimed 150 feet from the road or the rail down to the water level, then that's 150 feet. Connected to this one, which is also 150 feet, the clearance. I hadn't done the third one, but you can see the pattern. The clearance is clearly 150 feet. So if we know that the three of the bridges have all got the same height, then there's a problem here, Miles. And without any mathematics whatsoever, we can see that these three bridges are all perfectly in a line. Impossible on a sphere at 30 miles away with an accumulated curve between the first bridge and the last bridge, but from 30 miles. This isn't an accumulated curve from 1 mile. This is an accumulated curve from mile 28 and then to 29 to 30 or whatever the distance is between them. However, this is what Miles the Liar Davis claims is what it should look like if we live on a flat plane. Can anybody see a problem here?
Hold on, we never get this view. This is an orthographic representation. So where it says 200 on the left, I'll just highlight it for the audience, save you doing it. This would be where we're actually viewing from. And what we're viewing is what we see along this single line that's been drawn for some reason. Now, as I've been drawing recently, if this was observer 1 looking at, let's call it, double the height observer 2, so we've got a tiny little lady looking at a massive guy, then you have an angle of view. So the angle to here would be a very limited angle, and the angle to here would be a much, much, much wider angle. But he's just drawn one line in orthographic. So he's given us a third-person representation of the observation from here to here. What crock of shit? Does he not watch the show? Is he thick? Does he not know that we've already ripped apart the orthographic view and the fact that it doesn't include perspective? Is he stupid? I mean, literally, is he dumb?
I don't think he's stupid. He knows very well that this is not the position on the flat plane, but he has to report it as so to give his video credibility, because otherwise he knows that we're going to rip it apart. And I've left a comment to that effect under his video, directing everybody to this video that we're doing right now, which rips this apart. Because what his angle on this is that he claims that he's at an elevation of, you know, the same height as the stanchion on the big bridge. So if we go back to this picture, he claims at this point is level with where he is at, according to the, you know, the Google height elevation thing. He claims that the height is at. Now, let's just take it on face value that it is the same height. What his point is that the mountains in the background, if the Earth were indeed flat, should be up here somewhere, because this is the way that he thinks that the flat Earth would look. So this poses one of two scenarios. Either Miles is literally lying because this is not correct and everybody knows it, or Miles can't understand the opposing view. Either way, this is wrong, and Miles needs to remove his video because he's a lying sack of shit. He's a disingenuous sack of shit.
Well, hold on.
Now,
maybe I've spoken too soon. Does he later on account for the perspective?
Well, this is where we move on a little bit in the video. What I've done here is to correct Miles's problem, which is making an allowance for perspective. Now, I haven't done this accurately because Miles didn't show any perspective mathematics, and there is no mathematics for perspective on the curveball Earth nonsense that we're told that we live on. So I've kind of just whimmed it because nobody tells us what the maths for perspective are. And if you're going to claim we live on a ball and we know that objects do get smaller as a function of distance, it is obviously it's correct that you tell us how much smaller they should be at 30 miles away, which is in this case the bridge, and these are like 100 kilometers, that's 60 miles away. How small should they look from 60 miles away?
Yeah,
and he doesn't
sorry,
give us any of these maths.
Just to keep the terminology correct, what would be the angular size reduction given their distance?
Sure. So he doesn't give us any of this, and it's not for us to do the maths for it. It's their claim. So this is where you've got to show us what you're doing here with the perspective. But what I've done is just to make the point that the only time that these mountains are like 500 plus meters tall is when they're when you're stood next to them and you look up and you see that they're much taller than you. As it gets further away from you, its size reduces, its angular size reduces because of the distance. Now, you guys have got to tell us what they reduce to, because you're misrepresenting our position. And I'm going to claim that Miles knows what he's doing, and he's deliberately doing it because he's a disingenuous sack of shit. He has to do this to add credit to his claim by trying to make it silly that what we're talking about, well, you're misrepresenting our position, and you're not telling us what is the proper maths. So there's the main problem. So when we go back to Miles's video, he claims that the camera height's at 210, and he claims that this mast here, this stanchion in the middle, is also at 210. But he claims that the height of the hills is greater than 500 meters. Now, he's used the wrong symbol here. He's used less than 500 meters, but he says in his video that they're greater than 500 meters. So I've took the privilege of correcting the symbol that he's used for the correct one, because this is wrong. This says less than 500 meters, Miles. And I'm sure a man of your caliber in this wonderful world that we live in, the flat world, would know that. So I've corrected it for you, Miles. This now says greater than 500 meters, because that's what you said in your video. So correction made. But let's bear in mind that the nearest bridge is 28 miles away. So this fourth bridge here, this first one, 28 miles away. And then however far it is between these, the other, a mile or two, whatever they are, between the three thingies, there's an accumulated curvature there, and it's from the 28th mile. So if you were to look at the curve from the 28th to the 29th to the 30th mile, it's impossible that these line up in a straight line behind each other, right? Without doing any maths whatsoever. Common sense tells you that. Everybody understands that these cannot be lined up at 150 feet above the water in a straight line. So that in itself tells you that the Earth must be a flat plane. So on that basis, thanks very much, Miles, for showing that the Earth's flat. But with regards to his claim that the mountains in the background somehow support a spherical Earth, what he then does is he goes into this new curve calculator thing. I'm not going to give this any credit because, again, this doesn't address the reduction in size caused by distance. It does, however, have a refraction part. And if you click standard refraction, this nonsensical bullshit that we all know doesn't even exist, it gives you some nonsense adjustment. But what if you were to click this refraction, you can literally pick up one of these sliders and flick as much refraction in there as you want. And that's defying the laws of physics, because light doesn't bend the way that they need it to and now can make it do. Light doesn't bend that way, boys and girls. So no, this is nonsense. This refraction thing is complete nonsense. But the reason why this can be completely rejected is because it doesn't address the perspective part at all. And if it does, it doesn't show it. And if it does show it, Miles didn't show it in his video. But either way, there's no perspective being addressed in this video. So he claims this and he claims that, and he's persuaded by this and he thinks that, and who cares? Bottom line is, you're still denying that perspective. And that's basically the end of his video. So let's just go right the way back to the beginning. This is the bit that's the issue. He makes the claim that this is what, if the Earth were flat, that's what you would expect to see. No, Miles, you're being lying. You're being dishonest and you are lying. And on that basis, I think everybody in chat should go over to his video, give him the the watch, the view for the video that he wants, but then thumb it down and tell him he's a perspective denying sack of shit, because that's really what he is. So Miles Davis, consider yourself debunked.
So there's a new sorry, just before you go, bear with me. I've been trying to get this in. So there's a new perspective omitting, begging the question, proof of nothing curve calculator. So if you can go back to that slide just with the curve calculator on it, what does it have to say about radius?
I'm not familiar with this curve calculator, if I'm honest. I don't know what else is. Oops.
There we go.
Oh, hang on, I'll have to do this proper way. There we go. There it is. What does it say about radius?
Yeah,
I have no idea. I don't know.
Let's have a look. What can I see on there?
It'll be in the basics tab.
Right, but this is presumably a screenshot of the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, obviously, it'd be nice to know what they reference in terms of radius. You know, where they got that value from.
Yeah, it'll be begging the question if in addition to the misrepresentative position. But Travis, let's hear what you were going to say. You were in what did you say?
I came across this video earlier this week and jumped on in the chat. He and I went back and forth a bit, and I finally just gave up because of where it wasn't going. But one of my initial questions was, if you go back to that screen where you corrected his greater than, less than.
Yeah.
Basically, I said, so are you telling me the height of the hills should read 210 meters? Because that's what he's saying.
500 plus.
No, I know, but the way that he was arguing was the hills are the same size as the bridge tower and the camera height.
Yeah, and he's going to say that's due to the curvature of the Earth. And we're going to say, absolutely not. Things get smaller as a function of distance. So how are you going to prove that it's the curve? Because you've got to address them. You've got to show what it should look like with perspective. and then you've got to show what it, and then contrast it with the curvature of the Earth added to it. And I can guarantee you, on anything over about 20 miles, basically nothing. You shouldn't see anything. By the time you get, if you're talking mountains that are bigger than like tall buildings and stuff, then you're gonna have to push it out to maybe 30 miles. But you have to show what perspective should look like on a flat plane, and then show the drop that the perspective reduced size mountain then falls into. So you reduce the height of the mountain, show what size it should be, and then drop it behind the curve, and then see what happens. And I can guarantee you, if we lived on a ball, then mountains wouldn't even be visible.
Okay, I mean, as much as I know that you quite enjoy getting into the tete-a-tete with the ballers about the perspective hijacking element of this curve calculator, I will just reiterate that the calculator itself is a begging the question fallacy, and the moment he uses that calculator, he asks and invites his audience to assume, as he does, that the Earth is a sphere, before he does anything. So I will never, ever, ever allow a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator to be used as a sign of curvature. He is looking at what he claims is curvature based on the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator, and looking at something being obscured. He's not looking at curve, that's already presupposed in the calculator, and that's what I'm asking for, any signs of curvature, which this is not. Nonetheless,
He claims it is, though.
again,
Let's go back to his first slide. His first slide says, if the Earth, this observation is impossible if the Earth is flat. Well, we know that the Earth is flat, so it's obviously not impossible. So that makes it either you've got your maths wrong, Miles, which is probably the case, or you're just lying. And we know that you are lying because we know that you've misrepresented what it should look like on a flat plane, because that's not how it should look like on a flat plane. So then we know that you've lied in the first place, but then we also know that you've used a perspective denying curve calculator, which doesn't address perspective. And if it does, you didn't address it, because you need to tell us it should reduce in size to this size and then drop behind the curve with the curve, and then show the curve element. But you haven't shown the perspective element. So showing the curve is lovely, but you haven't shown the perspective. And we know that anything above 20 miles or so generally drops into that bulge. But in this instance, you're at quite a high elevation, so maybe it won't drop all the way behind and gone, but you should be showing us what the reduced size of it should look like from the perspective of the observer, and then you should show the drop that perspective reduced height now drops into, and then that would be the curvature. And you didn't do that. All you showed was the claim that there was a curve, and then that's it. But in any event, you've still lied in the first place by misrepresenting our position. And of course, that isn't our position, and you've ignored it. And on that basis alone, it can be completely dismissed. But let the record be clear: this is not the way that we claim that it should be on a flat plane.
Well, I was just about to say that. So if you can go back to his original statement, I'll just correct his statement. So he says this is impossible on a flat Earth. Well, to correct that statement, this is impossible on an orthographic misrepresentation of a flat plane when you exclude perspective.
Yeah. And what's annoying about this video is you got the dopey people like the Wolfie and Sly Sparkane and Sean Hufford all in chat, patting him on the back. Zero critical thought. Everybody assumes that he's got it right, and they're all basically holding his willy. Well, we're ripping it off. So, yeah, you might all be holding his willy, but we've just ripped it off. So, have a good day, Miles. Don't misrepresent our position, and tell the truth. Don't tell lies.
Indeed. So, any signs of axial rotation, as we definitely haven't had any signs of curvature this show?
No.
No evidence for
Morning,
axial
guys.
rotation.
No. Shout out to the mind of God. Earth is not flat. Is that so? I think you'll find it is. Anyway, any signs of gas pressure being maintained without a container?
No.
I heard you, Chocolate. Hello.
Oh, hey, Chocolate. Sorry, didn't see you there.
Thank you, Trav. Thank
Sorry.
you. What's up? Morning, fellas.
Any scientific
No
evidence of
for
gravity?
any of that.
Anybody, including you,
What?
Chocolate?
What?
Any signs of what, Nathan?
Gravity.
No.
No.
No R either.
Science, no science.
Pardon?
Science, but no science.
No, there's no signs of gravity either.
All depends on your angle of approaches.
Guys.
Okay then. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No.
There
Now,
is actually some developments on the distance to the sun. Yes. You know the claim. Let me just see if I've still got my tab open for it. If I haven't, I'm not going to pull it up. Oh no, I have. Here it is. Oh right, okay. Yes.
Hey, Event
Right.
Horizon.
I think I did it yesterday though.
That's all right.
I can't remember if I did this yesterday or not. Right. So what I'll do is I will screen share. And I'll run through it quick because I can't remember if I did this on your show or whether this is like a figment of my imagination. Okay, so the claim is that Eratosthenes and sticks in the ground gave us the circumference of the Earth, right? And the claim is that somebody by the name of Christine Huygens assumed that Venus was the same size as Earth and therefore got an approximation of its distance based on that assumption, which is a lovely assumption, but it doesn't mean it's true. And then we had the claim from people like dumb people like Rumpus who just believe everything they get told with zero critical thought whatsoever, claiming that radar ping reflections prove that Venus is where they say it is. And I've been recently looking into this to try and get evidence that it's true. And I've got some responses back from Jodrell Bank, owned by Manchester University. And I've had a back and forth with one of the professors there. And basically, I've asked him, what is the current position from Jodrell Bank's perspective? Did they ever get successful ping reflections or not? And he's referred me to this document, which came 2 or 3 years after Jodrell Bank. Some bloke by the name of Bob claimed that Jodrell Bank had successfully got ping data. This supersedes it by a year or two, by the name of Ponsonby, Thompson, and Imrie. So this is 2 years after the 1961 radar pings. The radar pings from 1961, originally credited by Bob from JPL, were discounted or discredited by Jodrell Bank because they weren't satisfied that they were persuasive enough, which was their original position. So basically, they stamped on his toes and said, no, we don't, even though JPL have said that they are reflections, we don't think that they are reflections. And this is the claim now, 2 years later, saying that these are actually now the ping reflections. But there's a problem. They're claiming that it's a successful radar detection of Venus was reported by the 5 groups, blah, blah, blah. Now, in this document, it talks about how they got these new pieces of information. And it's really interesting because this document self-creates and raises its doubts. And I'm going to have to try and find... I should have prepped this before I came on because I'd forgotten about it. I'm just trying to remember where the first reference was. Oh yeah, this first reference here at the bottom of page 1. It uses the Boltzmann constant, right, as part of the equation. I'm going to shut this door 1 second. Now the Boltzmann constant is a probability predictor. It's like picking horses in a horse race. When you're using the Boltzmann constant in in these maths, the Boltzmann formula from which the constant derives from is a probability calculator. So what it's doing is it's basically telling you where the signal should be if your parameters in the first instance are correct. Now, obviously, the parameters in the first instance were based on Christian Huygens' assumption that it was the same size as Earth, and that gave him where he thinks Venus should be. Well, that assumption is not really acceptable, but in any event, they're using the Boltzmann constant, and what this does is it gives you a probability of where certain things would be in the timeline for the ping reflection, but it doesn't mean it's actually there. It's just where they think it should be, and we know with Miles Davis's application of maths that they can be wrong. So this in itself is an issue because it's making this successful ping reflection entirely based on a probability rather than based on actual pings that you're seeing. And at page 7 in this document, it talks about the actual results that they get. Must be on page 8. And these are hopefully, maybe it was page 9. Yeah. These are the claims of the ping. This is what they claim is successful ping reflection back from Venus. So you have a little bit of noise.
Hey, hey.
Hey, hey.
Hello.
So you have a little bit of noise, but this is supposed to be the ping, right? and then a different channel records the ping there, and a different channel reports the ping there, and a different channel. These are all supposed to be the pings, right? But look at what it says. It says the corrected channel outputs, keyword corrected, the corrected channel outputs for the days when return signals were detected. Now, they're making corrections because there was an issue with the equipment, apparently. So what they've done is they've changed the channel outputs. They've corrected the channel outputs to reflect this so-called ping based on a self-admitted fault with the system that they didn't explain but admitted was there for some reason. I mean, basically they're falsifying or manipulating the information there to create the impression that there's a ping. They say there's a ping there and it's been corrected. And it's like, well, is this actually true then? Now, what are we actually looking at? But it gets worse. Let's go over the page. It says they may. Oh, I need to go last page on the last line on that page previous. So look at this last line here. It says the corrected channel outputs for days when return signals were detected. The full straight lines show the mean deviations, but the number beside is the mean count. Where's the next? And that's it must have been on page 8. I need the beginning line of that. So it must be there. No, for some reason I don't know why it does that, but on page 10 it starts. Shut up. Basically, it says that there were 30. I'm gonna have to let her out. Hang on. Go on, out. Right. So basically, if these are saying that this is Venus, right? You would expect if they were doing it on 13 days that they would get 13 successful pings. On the assumption that you can see it, you would expect 13 successful pings, but for some reason they only got detections on 7 days. Well, it's only just half. You've just got over the threshold of half the days that you had what you claim is a successful ping. Shouldn't you be getting them on every single day, right? I don't see why you would only get it on half of them and not on the other half. Okay, there might be weather, bit of refraction, blah blah blah. But the point is, they should be able to get these things reliably if this is genuinely what they say. But they didn't get it right. And then it says further on in this, difficulty was experienced with the integrated system. A permanent rise of a few percent appearing in the center channel due to a low-level spurious signal. I mean, that could be anything. That could be a bee flying past, or it could be electrical noise created by the equipment that they're using. It could be a pulse in the reliability of the power supply. It could be absolutely anything. For this reason, the echo was transferred to channel number 8 for most of the observations by running the digital clock in the ephemeris Doppler machine, fast by an appropriate amount. Runs were frequently made on noise to check the operation of the filter system. So the minute you filter in noise, you're going to be filtering the reflection coming back in as well. These revealed that the filter defining the bandwidth immediately before the 11 channels was not completely flat. So the filters displayed a smooth bias of about 10% in their total readings. To avoid these two difficulties, channel 6 with the spurious signal has been ignored in the subsequent work, and the results corrected for the bias by comparison with the noise runs. What this tells me is that they're getting interference of some kind, but they're calling it just noise. But the problem is, this noise could be anything, right? And the thing that they believe is this so-called ping also doesn't prove that the thing that they're getting is actually the ping back, because it could be caused by different things. It could be caused by the atmospheric reflections or whatever. I don't know. I'm not skilled in the art, but what I'm seeing here is this woolliness that they're adding doubt into what their claim is to basically dilute their claim. Well, they either got the ping reflection or they didn't. And this is saying that, well, we did get it, but it wasn't that easy. And we were having like hardware issues with a bit of background noise. And of course, the background noise is the problem, because if it's as far away as what they say, that ping, that reflected signal is reduced because of the inverse square law. So, but it's diluted that much that the background noise, as soundly demonstrated with his whisper into GeoStreamer, even when you amplify the hell out of the background, all you're doing is amplifying nothing, and you're trying to get a ping that's in that amplified background of basically nothing, and you've got to identify it, right? And that's what they claim they've done. But they only did it on 6 of the 14 days, or 7 of the 14 days, or whatever it was. And in that time, they've got problems with one of the channels and to do with noise. So it's like, this is not making me feel as though they've actually got it. But in terms of the distance to the sun, this is cited as being the claim for the successful radar ping reflections. And of course, there is, let's remember the main issue. This is all based on Aristophanes' maths, sticks in the ground, calculating the circumference of the Earth, blah, blah, blah. And we know that that's mathematical process works both ways if the Earth's flat. But the effect of it is that if the Earth were flat and he's applied the wrong set of maths, that ping reflection, when it comes back after the 6 minutes or so, they're looking in completely the wrong part. For what they're looking for is the ping reflection. It's completely the wrong place. And let's remember that Christian Huygens assumed that Venus was the same size as Earth. And that in itself is a fault, a problem, because even though he claims that it was a lucky guess and it just so happened to be very, very close to, it's still based on the assumption of Earth, which is based on the assumption that we're on a sphere. So again, it doesn't give you credible positioning for where they think the ping reflection should be coming back like after 6 minutes away, because it's more likely to be the case that it came back pretty much instantaneously if it did come back at all, or they didn't get it. There is no ping for them to get back because it's too weak and they just can't pick it out. But in any event, it's all based on the assumption of Christian Huygens and the application of the Aristophanes maths, which we all know works out both ways. And it's not. They don't prove that the ping that they claim is the reflection back from Venus was actually coming back from Venus, because they couldn't do it repeatedly over and over again. They only got it half the time. And if that half the time is, if that's the standard of proof here, on a 50-50 basis, that's not particularly strong. So the answer to your question, is there any evidence to the distance of the sun? The answer is still, unfortunately, no. And this is supposed to be the most up-to-date position by Jodrell Bank. So it's like, and it's worth checking this document out, Ponsonby, Thompson, and Imrie, and you can download it yourself and read it. But there's a load of doubt in this document. It's not strong. It is supposed to be a successful ping data, but they admit that they've had to compensate one of the channels because there was an issue with it to do with noise, which of course is the issue. It's all based on the assumption of Huygens. It's all which is based on Aristophanes. Two assumptions, and it's like, if you believe that this is true, then you're entitled to believe it. But if you look at the doubt that's raised in this document by virtue of the document itself, if we did this for an experiment, right, and admitted that we think that there were maybe issues that we didn't quite get right, so we've compensated for it, Borders wouldn't accept that, and neither will I accept this from them. And these are experts.
Ryan, you don't understand how science works. You're utter
Hold on,
idiot.
hold on. I wanted to ask a question.
Well, there's
Riley,
one more housekeeping question to go. So, well,
now
take it on to you.
wait, come on. I
No,
just
go
wanted
ahead.
to ask if Riley
Go on
could
then.
be a little bit more elaborate.
On which part?
That was a joke.
Oh,
That answer took you like 10 minutes, but it was really good though.
It was
enough.
terrible.
No,
Absolutely
it was
terrible.
really,
You have
really good.
no understanding how science works, Anthony. This was
you've
leading
said
edge
that.
technology. They
actually
always
technology.
started with problems.
this is
There are
actually
more-
technology. This is not science, Rumpus.
What? Yeah, no, the technology was troublesome because they were pushing it to the limits. Don't you understand? The first
I
people
understand
to
that.
No, you don't understand it.
I do.
It's
I
it was
understand.
no, you don't understand it.
Sorry,
They were
stop
pushing
repeating
technology
yourself.
to the limits.
Right,
You
one
don't
more ad hominem,
understand
Rumpus.
how science
Rumpus,
works.
listen
You
up.
This
pushed
is
the
not science.
technology
Rumpus.
to the limits, and they were fighting against technology. They had the weakest of signals. So that when you first define
Fighting
something,
against
you then inevitably meet these problems. You don't understand how science works. You're an
This
idiot.
is
not science,
science.
Rumpus.
Hold on,
It
just
is,
bear
of
with
course
me a
it's
second.
science.
Rumpus. This is not science.
Absolutely science. The best science ever.
You don't
Oh,
understand
really?
what science is.
Excellent.
No, you don't understand
No
science.
problem.
It's
Let's
not
take it
at
through the
all.
scientific method then. What was the observed phenomena?
Well, you don't understand. You don't understand science.
Excuse
Hold on,
me.
You don't even understand the definition of science.
Right. This is
how
going to
all
be a
this-
one-time deal. You've said it's science. Either you give me the observed phenomena, then we'll move on to hypothesis, or I kick you out for being
That's an
disingenuous.
experiment.
If this is
an
science,
observation method. You don't understand the science of
Step
observation
one.
as well as experiments.
I don't need to be told what I don't understand. I want to
don't
know the
understand.
observed phenomena. This should be dead easy. That's all you've got in astronomy is observed phenomena. So what was
Yes.
the observed phenomena?
Well, the observed phenomena was the return of the signal.
Oh, the
No.
return of the signal was the observed phenomena, was it?
Yes.
So
of
that
course.
signal,
A measurement.
that signal was a naturally observed phenomena, was it?
No.
Oh, well, we're dealing with the natural world, so it's definitely not science from the first step then.
Science also includes the physical world.
No,
maybe
it
even By your
doesn't.
own definition. you
Sorry, we're not dealing with anything beyond science, which is the physical and natural world.
And
A
here's a physical thing.
Stop talking over me. You're just going to get kicked out. You've asserted it's science. It isn't science. This is technology, as asserted to you by Anthony, and then I've pulled it apart And what we're having as an observed phenomena, according to Rumpus, is the return of a man-made signal. No, that's not a naturally observed phenomena. I couldn't give a crap what your technology does and produces as phenomena, because it's not a natural phenomena, and I'm only interested in the natural world, because that's what science deals with. The physical and natural world. Not your man-made devices, not your Cavendish balls, not your bloody ping data. This is not science. Rumpus is just a liar. Bye-bye, Rumpus. Don't lie.
He's an utter
You get one
moron.
chance. If you come here and lie again, I'll kick you out again, and I'll keep doing it. And you can bleat all you like in the chat. He's just asserted that ping data's science. It's not.
The best science ever.
It couldn't get any further from the word science if you tried, to be honest. I mean, we all know how hard it is to get a PC running, right? You only need one lead in the wrong place or not connected, and it ain't going to work. And is that science? No, it's technology, isn't it? You're just dumb. Now, in this case, you've got
Trial and error and a manual of the tip. There are manuals for typical errors that you can come across.
Right, it's gonna be a long, drawn-out housekeeping show, and I really want to get it. Oh, we're past half an hour. There's only 2 more questions. Is there any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? Come on,
No.
must be.
No.
Beautiful
Surely, one of
paintings.
you's got that, right?
Come on, paintings.
No.
Nathan. Paintings.
No, not the paintings. Evidence, actual evidence.
Come on.
seismology, Nathan.
Why
You're a
not
moron.
paintings?
Oh, here we go. Seismology.
Well, that's what their claim is. It turned out to be inaccurate with the Kola Super Deep borehole. The predictions, they made 4 of them, and all 4 of them turned out to be wrong based on seismology. So that's the claim, but it's easily debunked.
Oh, bummer. Well, last but not least then, what about the R value? Any evidence of Earth radius? R, gentlemen?
Not of the 3rd dimension, no.
Well said.
Nope.
Agree.
Not Nathan.
35 minutes into the first show, we've got through housekeeping. Excellent.
Yay! Well,
Hey,
periodically
Physics
they
Warrior.
do crop up with claims.
Say again?
Periodically they do pop up with claims, and obviously we need to stamp on them immediately. So Travis, I'm going to blame you for not bringing the out, because the other day when you spotted the Miles Davis video, that was a claim of curvature, and you didn't bring it up, Travis.
It was so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was archaic. It's like a time warp. Like I forgot to post that video a year ago. You know, it was so ridiculous. It's just only thing you can really do in response is just shake your head. In my personal opinion, anyway.
Anybody want to discuss Flat Earth Universe and the presentation on Flat Earth or Flat Earth and other hot potatoes yesterday?
Oh yeah, that was amazing. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, good interview. I shared it.
Martin
The guy was
Kelly's
very
egg.
spirited. I liked it.
Are you talking about Martin Kelly's egg?
Yeah.
Yes.
What bit do you want to talk about?
He did a presentation yesterday, and I had never seen it before, so I just find it very interesting. I'm always open to different ideas, and so I'm just checking that out.
I'll be honest, I was only half listening to it yesterday. I wasn't paying attention to it, so I'm not really any use in this conversation, to be honest.
Oh,
Well,
I
on his
only listened
channel,
to half of it too. But
On his channel, he has his videos aren't very long, so he kind of goes quickly into how it all works. It's pretty interesting. He talks about not giving away. It's still believing in flat, but that there's I think there's 4 different areas.
Three.
I think the hot and molten
Concentric
core.
circles.
I think the middle, at least, is Mercury with the sun, but then the first core is where we are, and then there's the ice wall, and then there's another area that's in a kind of like a ring, one from us, and then there's a third ring out from us as well, and they're all separated by a force field of some kind, and then the suns of the different areas. Mars is a sun of one of the rings, and I think Jupiter or Saturn is the sun of another ring. So it's just something interesting. Go to his YouTube channel and look at it. He's put a lot of work into it. He's not denying flat Earth by any means. So it's just pretty interesting stuff.
I mean, anything goes when you realize it's not a ball. So I'm not going to say, oh no, it's not flat, blah blah. I'm just going to say that this is where Arwen really could excel if he like what Martin Kenny's talking about. It's the, well, what else can it be? It's spitballing. That's what he thinks it might be, and that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Well, the funny thing is that he basically is trying to integrate the model with more astrological concepts and making the creation almost part of this. And that's very fascinating to me, although there are, of course, some claims like, oh, Ray, really? Is there a barrier? And you could see things on the other side? Is it really? That's new. I'll have to try that out. But yeah, I definitely believe in a multiple region flat Earth. And if you consider his improvised model as a projection, then it could pretty much coexist with my rectangular looping model, which is just another form.
Well, it almost jives with the Mormon idea too, because they talk about three heavens, and here they have three different rings.
Yes.
And obviously we're on the worst ring because all we have here is a bunch of liars and trolls and stuff in this area. So maybe it improves in the other two rings. So who knows? But it was very enjoyable. I really felt blessed to have seen it.
I've followed Martin for a while, and he expands a lot on Vedic cosmology, Hinduism, and things like that. They're talking of the Brahmandala, which is the area of the Earth which expands in kind of a flat plane, but within an egg. And you could call the celestial dome of the heavens the kind of the upper dome of that egg where we remain flat within it. Yeah, his work, synchronicity, I think, is one of the words that he uses quite a lot with his study. Things that kind of jive. He uses a lot of entomology and symbolism. It's really, really fascinating, extremely deep stuff. But yeah, it's, if anybody hasn't seen Martin Kenny's work or anything, I'd highly recommend you subscribe to his channel. Again,
I was very impressed by it because he looks like he's improvising, but I can just feel from him that he is like a clean mind. He isn't trying to fool himself on anything. He's a very pure guy. And
well,
I like his radiation. And I think that he is in tune with something, that he's touched upon something with his spirit.
Yeah, he claims he's getting some things, I believe he said.
Yeah, downloads, call it. Well,
in dreams and such. And I believe in that 100% because I see things in dreams. And I believe when you write a bestseller, you come out with an incredible song. I think that stuff's given to you in dreams and visions and things. I don't think we come out with it. You know, it's not from us. I think it's given to us. And so I was very excited about what he said, and I want to bring him on my show and see if he'll come because he's just very humble man as well. I was really, he was very soft spoken, and I really enjoyed listening to him. Really good.
I like the way that he kind of approaches NASA and things like that, where a lot of flat earthers as well just completely dismiss the idea. But it's that whole idea of doublespeak. They are kind of maybe telling us the truth, but we're kind of basing it on the global reality. But he goes a lot into NASA and what they talk about with like Van Allen belts and this kind of torrid plasma possible dome that we may have around us, and then another one extending out on that. It's kind of like a Russian doll scenario. But I like the way that he kind of won't dismiss anything, whether that be from NASA. He'll go and look at that with a kind of a flat Earth open. Maybe they are way out.
And he's claiming that he's going to Mars.
Observation, see that building in the distance. The tears are filling up their glasses. All the ballers cry refraction. Hide their heads, they wanna drown their sorrows. Troll the hangout, rumpus the panel. And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. The world in which we live in is the one we've never had. I find it's time to tell you, yes, you'll find it hard to take. When people look in the distance, it's a very, very black world.
Had my lighter up.
Really cool one, dude.
Lighters in the air, everyone.
That is really awesome.
Children going for indoctrination in the classroom, in the classroom. Gotta repeat what the teacher tells them. Write the answer on the paper. Went to school and I was very nervous. No one woke yet, they're still asleep. Hello, teacher, tell me what you're teaching. I take a deep breath, I raise up my hand, and I find it kind of funny, find it kind of sad. The world in which we live in is the one we've never had. I find it's time to tell you, yes, you'll find it hard to take.
Oh no, we lost his connection right at the end. Bravo.
Bravo!
Very good.
Very good.
Wow.
That was genius.
Travis.
Well done, that was lovely, Travis. Thank
that
you very
was
much.
awesome. Beyond
Yeah, and it's
words.
much more in your voice range as well, by the way. It
Ace.
sounded really good.
Obviously, the quality wasn't quite there through the Hangout, but nonetheless, we got the general gist, and it was lovely. In tune, at least.
If Chips comes on, can he give his channel a shout out to the audience so we can check it out?
The funny thing is, the original song is already kind of halfway there. That's so amazing about it.
That's true.
Yeah, it's used on Donnie Darko. A very dark film to begin with.
Oh my word, how embarrassing. I'm so embarrassed.
Don't be. That was very good, actually, Travis.
Oh, that was excellent, man.
It's only cringeworthy if people go completely out of tune and don't realise.
Mm-hmm.
That
And that
said,
usually
I've got quite
happens when the
bumper
song is
ears.
out of your voice range.
So you never know.
Who is that?
But this one is excellent for you.
Yeah, it
Absolutely.
was solid.
Made right. It's made for you, this song.
Wow, I'm so sorry, guys.
It's all good.
Sorry
Only a couple
for-
of.
sorry
How many
for
people do you
what?
normally get
We're-
watching
we're-
at your
we're-
the karaoke evening, Travis?
We're uplifted.
I totally thought I clicked mute.
What? You didn't mean to sing that?
Travis, you didn't mean to do that, Travis?
No, dude, no. I totally, because I got up to do something and I'm like, I got to mute so that.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That was
No,
awesome,
but
though.
it was awesome, dude. Thank you.
So, how many people watch at the karaoke? He's not listening. Not paying attention. Doesn't care. It's all gone very quiet. Is that just me? Or have I lost my hangout? No, it's still going out live. Can anybody hear me? Hello? People in the chat going, sing, Nathan. Nah, technical issue with the Hangout's not going to get me singing, I promise. Maybe
I
if
can
we
hear you
got
now.
Slight. Oh, was that someone in the Hangout? I think it was.
Yeah, hi, mate. I can hear you now.
I
Did
can hear
everyone
you.
just go quiet, or was there actually a technical issue then?
Technical.
Oh no, snipers have joined.
Singing.
I thought it was me.
Sing song, how you doing?
Hello, Earth Flattener.
Good to have you. Daniel, how you doing?
Hey Nathan, how are you?
Very well. Who was that?
That was Daniel.
Oh, good to have you. Ah, look at that. People fiddling with the Hangout.
What's going on? Are we offline, online, or what?
No, we're still online. Just, I think a sniper's joined, and somehow they managed to stop me from being able to screen share. So despite the fact that I'm presenting, I'll show you what I mean for the audience's benefit, that is. If I try and screen share, it won't actually appear. Just gets my icon. Hey Jose, let's put your pretty face on rather than my rubbish icon.
There he is.
I guess that's a good way to handle snipers, right, Nathan? You just present someone's screen.
I normally have it on mine, which is why the there's normally like some boring images that, well, I say boring, they're very good and they were when they were new, but now they're just like par for the course, everyone's seen them. But it just means that I can constantly present without it just being me standing over a massive hi-fi, which is what the audience have got now, just my icon. Or physics. Who's gone? Tried to sneak on. But we've got about maybe, let's have a look, 5 minutes left before I'll round out this show for a little break.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody in the chat. So many good people over there. And so many good trolls over there. So many okay trolls in the chat.
Some good trolling.
Yeah, good trolling. The trolls are kind of not the best, but it's trolling, so it's okay.
Yeah, the chat's a major part of the show.
Nathan, Earth Flattener.
Hello.
Is it okay if I do my presentation today or rebuttal against Quantum Eraser?
Of course.
Yeah. All right. It'll be like 10 minutes or something. So
yeah, do it now, and then that'll bring us up to about the hour mark.
Right now.
Say again?
I can't right now. I'm set up. I got dropped from my Earth Flattener account for some reason. That's why I'm on Sing Song, so I can't do it right now.
Is that really you, Arwin?
Yes, I had some weird connection problems for some reason. I had to reboot.
Yeah. When I run the show, I'll refresh the Hangout, and hopefully that'll sort it out. We'll see.
Okay.
I got no more problems now. So.
See if I can bring up slightly more interesting things to look at. There we go. Well, that killed the mood. Bit of trolling.
Travis, do you want to do a rendition?
Rendition?
Yeah. Do it again.
Oh, no. No, not twice. Not that I didn't enjoy it the first time, but that's just like, no. Bad form.
Just hear, we can probably hear the recording later on his channel.
Different if it's a different song. I'd probably get him to join on Skype so that he had better audio quality.
Yeah, I really like the lyrics.
But it was the spontaneity of it that was nice. So as soon as it started, I almost muted it thinking it was the recording. And then as soon as I figured out that it was, I muted Vegan Guy. Like he's in the middle of a sentence. I'm like, really sorry. Somebody's pouring their heart out. I'd much rather have that.
I thought he didn't like what we were talking about in Martin Kenny. I thought he just rudely interrupted. He didn't want to know about it.
I shared Patricia's show and put it in the link loads of times in the chat and had them up on display so that you could see what they were going to when they went to it and who he is for visual reference. But no, not at all.
Nathan, Vegan Goy is Jim?
Say again, physics?
Yeah.
Vegan Goy is Jim?
Yeah,
Nathan?
I'm Jim. Yeah.
Okay. And there's another Vegan Goy. It's 777, I believe. Vegan Goy.
I don't know.
That's probably
I've had a bunch of spammers, create funky names and come on all my different channels as vegan whatever and try to pretend to be me. But I kind of handled him yesterday. I invited him on the show and we chatted for a while. So
excellent. But I'm going to sub on your channel today, Jim.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Kind of lost track of where we were at then now.
We had about half hour of housekeeping and then a little chit chat. That was about it.
We're almost done for the show.
We're talking a little bit about Martin, and one other thing about his model, kind of like a pizza thing with multiple layer or multiple areas, almost looks like an old round maze. But the idea of the egg comes from this field, this force field that goes around the pizza, I guess it is, and there's 3 different force fields. So it's just really interesting to look at his site. And like I said, he's very soft spoken, very he really knows his information. He did a great job yesterday with Patricia. So I'd recommend you go to his channel and subscribe and see what he's got here. He doesn't put on super long stuff, so you can watch a short little piece and get something. So Good stuff.
Yeah.
I like the theoretical discussion about it, because obviously it's just expanding on the flat plane that we live in. Obviously, we don't know. We're never really going to find out if Mercury is a double sun moon that it's supposed to be, that, as Martin says. We're not going to know these things if the expanding area beyond the ice wall is as he says it is, or what the underneath is like. But it's just fantastic to see the synchronicity in the work that he does. And I say that word because he says that an awful lot. He goes through the Hinduism, the Vedic texts. He goes through a lot of historical stuff, bringing it up to date with what he said now, and he kind of what fits, what doesn't. It's really interesting how he goes about his work.
He's very inclusive, so there's no condemnation coming from him. He actually, you know, we're all over NASA's case, and he like someone was saying before Travis did that great song, is that he's talking about what NASA says in many cases is actually true, but it's not the whole truth. So he's giving some credit, because NASA's talking about a Mars mission, but what he's saying is no, not what they're really talking about is going to the next ring, which is under the Mars as a sun. So pretty interesting stuff. Just very, very, very. I like to read different types of things, and he just I was enthralled.
Yeah, I'm surprised SpaceX is allowed to do as much as they do right now. I thought like maybe they wouldn't be allowed to go and do that, kind of like send stuff up there without, like, they must be connected in some sort of way, you know?
Yeah, and the other thing is, you know, we talk about Saturn being the sun from the third ring, and how people talk about how the ancients came from Saturn. Well, did they really come from Saturn, or maybe they came from two rings across? And maybe they're just, I would think if you're the outside ring, you'd probably be the most intelligent, because so far looking around here, I haven't found a lot of intelligent life, you know, here. Maybe this is nursery school for all we know.
So you say people came from Saturn?
No, he's talking about possibly if people came from Saturn or whatnot, they actually maybe came from the exterior ring, under which Saturn has a sun, you know, Saturn being the sun. And because the Masons and everything are really into this Saturn stuff, and even look at the calendar with Saturn Day, and so anyway, like I said, I don't know, I don't make claims, but I just like to fill my brain with as much stuff until I explode.
Just for everybody else
to figure out how something that high up would come down here. I mean, like, everything above us is just lighter than us, so I'm not sure, like, what you mean, like our thoughts and stuff. Yeah, definitely going out there, but like what we're made out of is the Earth.
Yeah, well, he's not saying that they came from Saturn. He's talking about they came possibly, and I don't think he said Saturn. He's talking about Mars, but not about Mars itself, but the land that's covered by Mars being the sun, and the land that's covered by Saturn being the sun. So you see all these bright objects out there, and are they suns or are they planets? So he just really
he's suggesting
really
that over there, the reason you would have things like retrograde motion and such like is because they're in a different rotation on a different part of the plane. So it's not like he's extrapolating out a heliocentric idea of traveling to these places. They're just a different sun, i.e. Mars or Saturn is a different sun over there or over there, you know, not up and out.
Yeah, it's the land beneath that those suns and moons would go around that you would call Mars. So from Marty Kenny's point of view, the Mercury is like a sun moon in the central. Then it comes out to our Earth plane, then where we have our sun and moon. Then there's the extended Earth plane after that, where Venus and Mars would be the moon. And then another extended Earth plane after that, where it's Saturn and Jupiter. And then obviously out to Uranus and Neptune. And those lands underneath would be what we would call Mars and Saturn and so on if they were to go there. It wouldn't be up and away into space. It's out and away along the plane.
Right. It's
Yeah, I
up
see
right.
what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense. I mean,
and through the force field and past the ice wall. And
Yeah, right. You're saying that just because you know I'm about to round out. Well, I'm going to anyway round out on that note. But with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, you know exactly what to do. Probably done it already, but if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!